So.
No worry, John. I was giving you a very long, protracted introduction, but basically, in a nutshell, I was talking about that since you were the steward of Gondor over the last 20 years, you, sir, have become a fan favorite, playing everyone from Jonathan Crane in one of the Arkham video games to being on shows like Elementary and all the beloved Walter Bishop on Fringe. And I've got to say, I said this and I wanted you to hear it again, but what other man could ever follow up the great Orson Welles to do the voice of Unicron besides you, sir? It's wonderful to have you here. And I wanted to start out sort of when I was growing up, I was amazed at the amazing creativity that was coming out of Australia in the 70s and the late 70s and early 80s. Music, film. You had Peter Weir making things like From the Cars That Ate Paris to Picnic at Hanging Rock. Movies like Stone. George Miller doing the Mad Max and Mad Max 2, which we know as The Road Warrior. But you were running a theater company, and I was wondering, was there just an amazing... Was the creativity covering all facets of culture in Australia? Did you, running a theater company, did you feel that same kind of energy that was going on in music and movies? And what was it about that time in Australia?
Well, it was a time for two things. One is that the babies of the newborn, what do they call them, the boomers,
right,
born after the war, and given many opportunities, came of age. So you had a lot of smart young men and women running around the place wanting to express and do it their own way.
Right.
And that was a key factor in it, very much a key factor. The atmosphere was good. Australia was healthy and wealthy. And I came from South Australia, which was the most generous state in terms of looking after theatre and other stuff. So everything was there at that time. It all collapsed later, financially, of course.
Yeah.
But with the film, so that's theatre. With film, it was there was an income tax provision that said if you invested in a film, you could get twice what you invested back as a tax deduction.
Wow.
And that was a huge incentive. And so, of course, the films kept pouring out. There were some brilliant ones, some rotten ones.
Yeah.
Absolutely stunning ones, because that was what was happening. And you mentioned those great directors like Peter Weir and and Australia's produced a lot of actors as well. So it was just a golden time that fell apart in the 80s, as many things did fall apart in the 80s.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Now, did you always want to be an actor when you were young? Were you aspiring to act, or was that something you? How did you get into acting?
You think? No, I didn't. I didn't aspire to act. I didn't know you could become an actor. I was a country kid. I had no idea that you. I mean, what I thought about it, we'd go to the matinees on Saturday at the movies, and we'd see American cowboy serials and stuff, and that was my view of culture. And so, I was just thinking about that. Well, just repeat the question, please, because I got lost in my own thoughts then.
Well, you were a country kid. How did you start in plays, or how did that happen?
Okay, I've got it now. Okay, well, I didn't know. My mum was a very gifted pianist, and so it wasn't. But it wasn't. We didn't live in a house of culture. They were very lovely people, and very classy people, really, but not cultural. So I was sent to boarding school for a couple of years, and that was a shock. And then off to university, where someone said, "My God, you got a voice to die for," and put me in charge, or put some people in touch with me, and immediately I went into a really fantastic community theatre company that I loved, and I still love. It's about long gone now. It was called South Australian Creative Workshops, and did some amazing work. And I then launched with another fella the stage company, which was our company,
right?
Which was tremendously successful until the collapse of this financial collapse in the 80s. I remember I was in 86, I think. I had a show in London. I was doing a director play for the West End, and so I was away for a while, and we also had a show, one hander coming to America. We had a show on the road. This is a little tiny theatre company, only 3 people. We were having a great time. And but when I got back, one of the executives from the funding bodies took me out to lunch and congratulated me. He said, "Did you get many offers for work in London?" I said, "Oh yeah." He said, "You should have taken it, mate." That's ominous. And so what happened? This whole thing did collapse. I think I was the last one standing. Jesus,
Wow.
I fought hard. But this is an interesting story. Let me just say. So the Premier, the boss of South Australia, John Bannon, was also Minister for the Arts, and he called me into his office. It was about 6:30 or 7 in the morning, and he sat there very solemn, and he told me the story about what's happened at the funding. And he was a great fan of my company. He was telling me with tears in his eyes, and I had tears in my eyes, we couldn't do anything about it. Amazing. Yeah.
Well, I would be remiss. I mean, one of the things that I think over the last, couple decades is you have found yourself in very popular genre shows, whether they're science fiction, fantasy, a little bit of horror, and I don't know if were you a fan of the genre sci-fi, fantasy, and horror growing up?
No, not particularly. I don't know. I don't think I was a fan of anything, mate. I really don't. I just sort of had this lovely.
When you tell us the story of how, well, one, had you read Lord of the Rings, and how did you get a call? Obviously, to get involved, it has to be.
Yeah, let me be very honest here. I hadn't read it, and I wasn't alone in that. But then I was in Australia at the time, and my agent got a call and said, "Oh, there was a backstory before that too, which is very interesting." Got a call and said, "There's this show, Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson is doing it. They want to look at you for something." And I said, "Oh, all right." I mean, I didn't think too much about it, but I went and did this audition, and it was for the role of Denethor. And I basically nailed the audition. I know that, and I read. Then they contacted several months later and said, "Peter's coming over here. Would you do that Denethor again, but also do Saruman?"
Really?
Yeah. So I auditioned for both of those. Of course, Chris got Saruman, which was perfect casting.
Yeah.
And I mean, I assumed I wouldn't get it. I thought they were looking for film stars, but they weren't. He was looking for actors, and there's a lot of theatre actors in that cast, as against Hollywood stars. So it was a brilliant. Thank you, Peter Jackson. Apparently they just kept coming back and looking at it because they didn't know me and saying, "Yeah, this is it." That's the story I got later.
Well, it's so I have to say that your performance as Denethor is one for the ages. I mean, not exactly a great father, perhaps not a good steward of Gondor, but your performance as that character is incredible, and it was so great to see that when they did the extended version of Two Towers, that you got to have more to do, that you weren't in the film, and then they put you back in that film in that great flashback scene. When you were working on Lord of the Rings, did you know that it was going to wind up being the worldwide phenomenon, and to this day, one of the most beloved trilogies ever made? Could you feel that when you were working on it?
Look, I'll tell you what I felt. I mean, I wasn't ignorant. I knew how successful Lord of the Rings as a book was, and how many people read it. I just didn't. But going into it, what first thing that struck me was that Peter Jackson had raised the bar so high for himself, and everyone else went with it, and that was right across the board. That we were inspired by that man at that time. That was his golden time. He was brilliant, really brilliant at that stage. With Andrew Leslie, his DP is now dead, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And he was so on top of it, and he'd worked. And there's a great story about how he actually got it up and what he went through to finally get it. But he did, and he was phenomenal as a director and as a leader. And we all just wanted to do the best, and we did. People just climbed up another level, right across. I remember sitting in a big room with John Rhys-Davies once, all the actors, and he said, "Oh, this may be the finest collection of actors I've ever seen." And mind you, he's looking around Ian McKellen and all these fellas. So there was a very good atmosphere. We were very invested in it.
Well, now, because you were in that film, and now that you've been in things like Fringe and done video games and been a voice on Transformers, and you've become beloved in a fan community that is very vocal, very fervent, they love this stuff, and that you agreed to be on this Mainframe Comic-Con. Thank you very much, by the way. You've been to the San Diego Comic-Con. You've seen it all firsthand. What is it like for you to have become a fan favorite? And what's it like when you meet your fans and you feel the love coming from everybody?
Well,
is it a weird thing for somebody who grew up as somebody who didn't even want to be an actor when you were a kid?
The second question first about the fans. As you probably know, I love the fans, and I'm also aware of the fact that our success depends on their response to us. You know, we don't go anywhere. We got the 5th season of Fringe because of the fans. There's no question.
Right.
Yep, absolutely. And so I go to the conferences whenever I can and talk to people, and I really enjoy it. I'm not just saying that. I mean, there's money there as well. I love it, and connecting with people, and it's very touching. So the first bit, then, what was that again? The first question was
well, just that you've become part of that community, and you have been very active in the community, and at Comic-Con, you're very generous of your time. I mean, there's 135,000 people a day. It could be overwhelming for some, you know.
Comic-Con is a weird phenomenon. I have to tell you, I went to about 6 of them, and it's, as you said, it's massive crowds there.
Yeah,
we went officially, so we weren't doing signings or anything. We were just being rushed around from interview to interview and all. But it was insane. And but to me, it was just I sort of took it on board and thought, oh yeah, interesting. I don't take it personally because it's not personal. It's not John Noble. It's what I represent, and so you know, I don't get too excited about. Oh my God, I'm a legend.
Yeah, but we do.
Yeah,
we fans do.
And I do. I really. I'm very honestly very touched with the stories that people have told me. And I'm doing these things called cameos at present, where people write and get a message in paper.
Right.
And oh my God, it's all about Rings and Fringe, and they are also fans. Just this, yeah. It's pretty unadulterated, I think, the love, and it goes back the other way too. I mean, it's just pretty pure thing.
Well, when you got, again, Fringe has a huge fan base. I know people that were obsessed with that show. I mean, literally obsessed when it was on, over every little detail. And I think that the heart and soul of that show, not to take away anything from anyone else, but you were the heart and soul of that show. And I think it was the perfect bit of casting. Riding on the success of Lord of the Rings, they got you, and you made that show what it was. And what was that like? I mean, like you said, 5th season because of the fans, but that was a really innovative, very interesting show that was incredibly well done. How did you find yourself involved in it? Did you get a call? Did you have to put yourself on tape like Denethor? Yeah,
well, look, it is an interesting and unusual story, so it's worth telling. Normally, getting cast into any of these shows is a long process of callbacks.
Right.
In the end of the year before, I was in Los Angeles, just shopping, and my daughter, who's an actor, was there as well. And she said to me one day, "Dad, there's a fantastic show J.J. Abrams is doing, and it's perfect for you. Dad, get onto it." So I contacted my manager. I said, "Yeah, get onto this," but he came back and said, "Oh no, you're too old for it." I can't do anything. So anyway, we went home to Australia, and we got a call. I got a call. Please put down this tape for the show. And so Sam was with me. So she read against me. Olivia, she'd actually auditioned for it, and we put it down, and it was a fantastic scene. And I did it, and I knew I'd nailed it. I knew it. No question. I came into White, and I said, "I'm going to get that role." And she looked at me, "Mate, I don't talk like that." Anyway, they rang and said, "Yes, we don't need to see you at this stage." Then they said, "Oh, look, just come across for a couple of days in case anyone wants to meet you." So they put me up to London for a few days. They didn't want to see me. So it was most unusual to get cast all straight into it, without any further discussions. Very unusual, and a joy to do. And that gave me a lot of confidence also going into the show. So I was able to step up when people were nervous and anxious, and show some leadership, I suppose.
There's in the live chat, Joshua Palace says that your work in the Mule and Fringe are totally top notch, that you're a brilliant actor, and cheers, John.
Oh, isn't that beautiful? The Mule, he's for the Mule. That's not called the Mule anymore. There was another film.
Yeah, the Mule, the Clint Eastwood film.
Yeah. and
Yeah.
which was, you're not going to compete against that. They changed it to something else. It was such fun to do, I have to tell you. I mean, seriously, he was. I don't know if you ever saw the film, but he was just a bad egg, but a different sort of bad egg, you know.
Yeah, you know, Clint Eastwood turns 90 years old today.
God, no.
He's 90 years old. He's still directing movies.
He's an extraordinary. You know, he's one of the actors talk a bit among themselves about directors they admire, and many of us say we would love to do a Clint Eastwood movie,
right?
Because of the incredible respect that he has for actors, being one himself. But he does something. He never calls out action or anything like that. Never. He just waits, and you start when you're ready.
Yeah.
So different, man.
And he doesn't do a lot of takes either.
He doesn't do a lot of takes. I think he casts very carefully, and I think if you screw it up exactly, I believe that they'll all do that. Yeah.
Well, now let me ask you: you've done a lot of voiceover in video games and animation. Is that something that you enjoy as well?
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's different. Oh, okay. Well, yes, it's. I've always done it, but of late I've done the big shows like Batman and so forth.
Yeah.
I love it. I love being involved in the process, because this is just one tiny part of it, and you know, you got the producers out there and all these other people sitting there, and then we were hooked up to London, and they were sending through comments as I was doing stuff. So there's this madness going on, and so much of it to do. But it was exhausting. But we did it over a long time. I'm talking now about Batman. We did it over, oh golly, 12 months, 18 months, I think, in different sessions, because they kept adding new material and so.
Yeah, yeah.
But well, I went to London with the opening of it. That was
fun. Now you've got a new show that I noticed called Home Invasion being made, and I was reading about this on the IMDb, and your character's name is Buck Murdoch, which makes me it just tickles me to death that you're playing a character named Buck Murdoch, because that's hilarious. Home Invasion it's Home Alone meets Close Encounters. Can you tell us anything about this show?
It's a Swedish company, production company. It was shot in Budapest, so we were in Hungary. I was an Australian actor that lives in America, going to Hungary to do a play from Sweden. It was bizarre, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to tap into the very lucrative big markets. So it's done in English, and it started off with, yeah, look, it's fun. It is fun. I don't know much more about it than that, except I had some time in Budapest, which I hadn't been to before, so I love that. I don't know. There's a lot of integrity in that company. I'll wait and see as well.
Right. Is it strange to be an actor and, you know, you work on these things, you come in, you do your part, you leave, and sometimes you don't get to see the finished product for a year? Mm-hmm. Is that an odd thing for you as an actor, that, you know, you don't know how it's going to turn out until, like, the first time you saw Return of the King, I would assume would be at the world premiere in Wellington, when they take over the whole city? And was that the first time you saw Return of the King?
I saw it just before that. Peter put on for some of us, the showing that we hadn't seen it. So it was Sean Astin, me and some other actors there, and I watched it, and I thought it was astonishing. I thought Sean Astin's performance was
amazing,
Academy Award stuff, and I told him afterwards too. So in a sense, I was not so much overwhelmed by Denethor, although I liked the work he did. But the whole thing was just magnificent. These great actors doing great work.
I just can't imagine what it would be like having, you know, been a part of that, and then being able to sit down and actually watch it for the first time put together for people.
Yeah, I was working really hard at that stage, and I went to sleep in the first viewing of it. Don't tell anyone. That was a big Wellington number. You know, we're all there, and as you said, the town turned out, and we were extraordinary. You know, motorcades and everything. And we went into the 3-hour session. I'm sitting here. I had one of my kids next to me. I said, Dad, wake up.
We won't tell anyone.
No, well, I've just told the world, but I had seen it a couple of days before anyway. And so it was extraordinary experience. Because then we went to LA for the opening, then we went to Berlin for an opening, then we went to London. It was just extraordinary.
Did you go to the Academy Awards?
Yes, sir.
What was that like? I mean, you guys swept?
11, yeah. Well, it was extraordinary. We were at a gathering. We weren't in and so we were watching on television, and 1, 2, 3, 11. Eventually, it was just embarrassing almost, but there was a certain euphoria. Let me say that.
Yeah, I mean that was an incredible night for everybody. Have you been back? Have you gone back? Have you done any work over there since then? And have you seen gone back to Wellington?
Yeah, I have. I've done several projects there since Wellington. One in Wellington. One was a couple were Auckland based. I started one there last year. I don't even know if I can say the name, but I better not. Anyway, it was a crazy show. But then the lead actor had an injury, and they had to cancel for a period of 7 months or something or other because this lead actor damaged his leg. That's in the news. They can get that.
Right.
His name's John Cho, you know, dear old John, and he damaged his leg very badly. 7 months off. So that stopped that.
Can I bring up what that is? Or I won't say the name, but let me ask you, because that is of a big. I think everybody watching this show is going to be very interested in that show. How do you think that's going to be? The show, without naming it.
Well,
because I'm very excited for that show.
Well, the thing that really set me off at first was the bloody music, the original music by the Japanese composer. Oh my God,
it's unbelievable.
And so she's working again with us. And using that, the production values I thought were fantastic. It's a buzz, man. It's a big, you know, it's out there. And
wow, I'm very okay. I'm all giddy now. So we won't say what that is, but for those who know, yeah, just you can find it out.
Well, you know, but those who know, we're just waiting to see what happens, because then the virus came along and everything got cancelled. So what the company will do now, it's very difficult to know. Or
right,
still be available and all that. I don't know.
Although New Zealand has done a great job tamping that virus down, it's pretty much gone from their shores. So they're going to open up. They open up production this week, so maybe which will be terrific. Were you going to go to Comic-Con this year, to the San Diego Comic-Con?
Someone asked me to. What is that about? Something came up recently. Oh yeah, yes, I've been booked to voice another thing. Television series, and they want me to go to it. They wanted me to go to it.
Yeah, but can you say what that is or not?
No, I can't. Really.
secrets upon secrets. I don't think there's
secrets, but by golly, if the publicity people get really pissed if you.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah. I'm just nosy.
As you should be, my friend.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, if you would look back at your whole career and what's happened, I mean, from somebody, like you said, you went to boarding school, which was new for you, and then everything that's carried you, what advice could you give to younger aspiring actors that want to join this business? As I know we're out of time, but what could you say with everything that you've done and learned and seen? What would you say to young actors who are just starting out, what they can expect and what maybe they should concentrate on?
Well, you can go through all of that. It's pretty standard stuff. But the critical thing is something that's within us that we can bring out, and that's there's a bravery in acting, real bravery, because you expose, constantly exposing yourself. You're talking Denethor, you're looking at a part of John or Walter. That's part of me in there. So you know, there's a fair investment in it all. But no, I mean, I know we finished, but all of this has been fantastic. These kids have got to find their goal and find a great teacher. You know, I teach a lot, and I know the way I go about it. Others don't. They sort of sit around and criticize the students like they're kids at school. No. So, I mean, I think of success teaching. You've got to be inspired, and you've got to have it in here, because it's hard. It's hard.
Right.
You know, the number of wonderfully qualified actors out of work at present is mesmerizing. So,
well, listen, I guess our time is up, sir. But I want to thank you, John, very much for doing this. What an honor it's been to speak with you, sir.
Oh, mate, thank you. It's been a wonderful interview. I've enjoyed it very much. So, and congratulations, Mainframe. It's an amazing thing to do.
Thank you so much, John, and a very special thanks from my cat, Walter Bishop. Wanted to say thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks. I've got other stories about people naming their dogs and cats Walter.
Thank you so much, sir.